And we are live.
Namo Amida Butts. 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 Kancho.
Good morning and happy Father's Day. Today is June 25th, 2023, and we welcome you to New York Buddhist Church. We'll begin with quiet sitting. Please sit up straight, gently calm your mind, and follow your breath.
Namo Amida Butts. Namo Amida Butts. Namo Amida Butts.
Today's chant is Jusege on page 54 of your service book. Following will be Vandana and Tisarana on page 7. Our reading today is Taking Refuge by Thich Nhat Hanh. Our Dharma message will be delivered via video from New York Buddhist Church member Matthew Kaufman. And we will then have our gathas Ondok-san and Namo Amida Butsu on page 134 and 135. Namo Amida Butsu.
Gagon Chosegon Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Everyone please rise for Vandana and Tisarama. Page 7 of your service books. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Kie Butsu. Namo Kie Butsu. Namo Kie Ho. Namo Kie Ho. Namo Kie So. Namo Kie So. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Please be seated. Welcome everybody to New York Buddhist Church. Very happy to see you all here today. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to those of you who have children. For those of you who have four-legged or flying children, happy Parents' Day. And it's also Pride Month. So happy Pride to everyone. Our meditative reading today is Taking Refuge by Thich Nhat Hanh. If everyone has it, let us please read along together. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and of love. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. Dwelling in the refuge of Buddha, I clearly see the path of light and beauty in the world. Dwelling in the refuge of Dharma, I learn to open many doors on the path of transformation. Dwelling in the refuge of Sangha, shining light that supports me, keeping my practice free of obstruction. Taking refuge in the Buddha in myself, I aspire to help all people recognize their own awakened nature, realizing the mind of love. Taking refuge in the Dharma in myself, I aspire to help all people fully master the ways of practice and walk together on the path of liberation. Taking refuge in the Sangha in myself, I aspire to help all people build fourfold communities to embrace all beings and support their transformation. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. So, today I am very pleased to introduce our speaker for today's service, Matthew Kaufman, who's an ongoing member of our meditation, our Dharma study, and our Dharma chat classes. He has deep, deep interest in Jodo Shinshu teachings and always provides us with deep insights during these discussions. So a little bit about Matthew. He grew up in Philadelphia, studied comparative religion at Dickinson College. He's worked for nonprofits, including Repair the World, the Anti-Defamation League, before pursuing his master's at Brandeis. Today he works for Tufts, where he coordinates a program on Israeli-Palestinian reconciliation called the Visions of Peace. Anything I might say further would fail short in expressing the content or the quality of his seeking personality, his thoughtful intellect, and his open, warm personality. So it is with very great pleasure that I introduce to you one of our younger Sangha members, a recent graduate, Matthew Kaufman.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Kaufman. I've been a member of New York Buddhist Church for about a year, and it's a pleasure to be speaking to everyone today for Pride Month. So let's begin. In a sense, Pride Month is all about exclamation points, displays of LGBT identity that are loud, proud, and exuberant. Throughout June, in both large American cities and small American towns, one can attend drag shows, dance-offs, parades, and even punk rock concerts celebrating the queer experience. But what exactly is the queer experience? And what can that experience teach us about our lives, our values, and our identities as Shin Buddhists? In order to talk about the queer experience, we must first talk about queerness itself. Beginning in the 1980s, the word queer was reclaimed by activists within the LGBT rights movement as a positive self-identifier. From now on, it would no longer connote deviant sexual behavior or perverse gender bending, but a new way of thinking, feeling, and being. A philosophy, if you will. Put simply, to identify as queer meant to identify as someone whose gender or sexuality refuse to be confined to neatly defined spaces such as heterosexual or cisgender. Contrary to popular belief, the queer community's refusal to stick with one label does not signify an anything goes mentality. After all, many individuals who identify as queer also identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and more. The queer community loves labels. And in case you couldn't tell, we love using colorful flags to express those labels. To understand this paradox, pretend that you are looking at the album cover of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, which features light refracting from a triangular prism. Gazing at the refracted light, you notice a spectrum of colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. These colors are clearly distinct, and yet they emanate from and commingle within a single source. Does the shared source of the colors mean that the colors themselves do not really exist? That they are just an illusion conjured up by the brain? Not necessarily. As an optometrist once told me, quote, "I wouldn't say that the color spectrum implies colors do not exist. Instead, I would say that the color spectrum implies that the boundaries between colors are much more blurry than we imagine," unquote. Friends, does this not sound like dependent origination? A doctrine common to all schools of Buddhism? Do we not believe that all phenomena arise in dependence upon other phenomena? Do we not believe that, to quote Shakyamuni Buddha, if this exists, that exists? And if this ceases to exist, that also ceases to exist? Do we not believe that life itself is fluid and dynamic, and therefore the boundaries between self and non-self are permeable? If you hold fast to the Dharma of dependent origination, if you are convinced of the messiness and the complexity of life, and if you consider change to be your only constant, then, whether you like it or not, you're a little queer yourself. The only difference between you and the George Michaels of the world is that they have applied dependent origination to their gender and sexuality. So far, it seems as though queerness can be applied to one of Buddhism's three jewels, the Dharma. But what about the Buddha and the Sangha? As with Buddhists, intentional community has always been important to queer people. This, in no small part, is due to their ongoing stigmatization. According to a 2018 study from the University of Connecticut, only 24% of LGBT youth feel comfortable expressing themselves at home, and only 25% of LGBT youth receive support from their biological families. With figures like these, is it any wonder queer people have formed rich and elaborate subcultures where they can live together, laugh together, love together, and of course, create together? As a member of some of these subcultures, I can not only attest to their vibrancy, but also to their similarity with Buddhist Sanghas. Just like a Buddhist Sangha of Japanese heritage may engage in taiko drumming, a queer subculture of Black and Latino heritage may engage in drag shows or ballroom dances. Just like a Buddhist Sangha may gather together to study the works of Taitetsu Uno, a queer subculture may gather together to study the poetry of Audre Lorde or the essays of Judith Butler. Most importantly, just like a Buddhist Sangha may uplift its members at times of physical, emotional, or spiritual distress, a queer subculture may uplift its members when they are feeling battered down by homophobia, transphobia, or, if nothing else, a shitty day. Sangha, the late Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, is a community where there should be harmony and peace and understanding, created by our daily life together. If love is there in the community, if we've been nourished by the harmony in the community, then we will never move away from love. Regardless of the parallels between Buddhist Sanghas and queer subcultures, and regardless of their differences too, this is a lesson everyone should take to heart. We have seen how the Dharma and the Sangha are, in a sense, queer. But what about the Buddha? Does it make sense to apply Amida, who often defies conceptual thought, to gender and sexuality? Should the ultimate truth of Amida's reality be brought down and compared to the conventional truth of our reality? To these and similar questions, my answer is an emphatic yes. Regarding Amida and gender, the Reverend Ken Yamada of the Higashi Honganji sect notes, quote, Amida represents great wisdom that helps everyone without discrimination. Wisdom is neither male nor female, unquote. Additionally, Reverend Yamada notes, quote, statues of Buddhas tend to show androgynous figures, embodying both male and female traits, unquote. Why this androgyny? Why this unabashedly queer blurring of gender identity? According to Reverend Yamada, it all boils down to Buddhas being perceived as a combination of ideal masculine and ideal feminine traits. For example, Amida's two attendants, Bodhisattva Kannon and Bodhisattva Seishi, are supposed to signify the ideals of wisdom and compassion. In some Asian cultures, compassion was associated with masculinity, in others, femininity. Consequently, Kannon is portrayed as the male Avalokitesvara in India and the female Guanyin in China. In Japan, Kannon's gender often varies from statue to statue and from painting to painting. This is an ambiguity that, rather than being shunned by Buddhist tradition, is frequently embraced by it. For example, the Lotus Sutra, one of Mahayana Buddhism's most influential texts, refers to Kannon at various times as monk, nun, layman, laywoman, boy, or girl. It seems clear to me that Amida's gender identity, and the gender identities of Amida's attendants, is queer, androgynous, and, to use a more contemporary term, non-binary. But what about Amida's sexuality? After all, the three Pure Land Sutras make no mention of Amida's romantic or sexual relationships. And does a Buddha even have time to listen to Sade's Smooth Operator? A Buddha may not have time for such things, but we sure do. From Buddhism's earliest days, Buddhas were not only likened to friends and teachers, but also to partners. Shinran Shonin, our school's revered founder, believed his wife Eshini to be an incarnation of the androgynous canon, one who would help fulfill both his emotional and physical needs. Eshini, in a letter to her daughter Kakushini, revealed that she saw her husband in similar terms. To some, the idea of seeing the Buddha as a romantic partner sounds absurd, even blasphemous. But in the world of religion, it is nothing new. Christians, for example, regularly compare the church to a bride and Jesus to a bridegroom. Jews regularly compare Israel to a lover and God to a beloved. And devotees of Krishna regularly compare themselves to his eternal consort, Radha. Furthermore, as Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote in his 1955 book, God in Search of Man, our relationship to ultimate truth, which can also be referred to as the divine or the Dharma, is reciprocal. Not only do human beings seek meaning and purpose, but, in a sense, those things seek us. At times, this mutual seeking can feel profoundly intense, like the love we all feel on our wedding day or the warmth we all feel when held in another's arms. You do not have to call this reciprocity queer, but at times you may experience it as such. At the beginning of this address, I asked, what exactly is the queer experience? And what can that experience teach us about our lives, our values, and our identities as Shin Buddhists? In a nutshell, the queer experience is the gender or sexuality-based experience of dependent origination, which manifests itself in personal expressions, subcultures, and relationships. These personal expressions, subcultures, and relationships often mirror the three jewels of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and consequently, they can shed new light on their importance. Like the queer community, do we Shin Buddhists value life's interdependence and interpenetration, which blurs our boundaries and confounds our conventional way of thinking? Like the queer community, do we Shin Buddhists value creating spaces where people are welcomed just as they are? Like the queer community, do we Shin Buddhists understand what a rare and precious gift it is to exist in relationship with others, be they friends, lovers, amida, or all three? In a year when 556 anti-LGBT bills have been introduced in this country, let us ponder these questions for our sake and for the sake of queer people everywhere. Both within our Sangha and without, they are disciples of the Dharma and subject to Amida's boundless compassion. Thank you for this opportunity. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, Matthew, for a very moving talk. Indeed, we strive in our daily lives to move towards love. And that love, we have to first get past the idea of the other, which we carry around within us. To truly love, those lines must be blurred. And yes, we do indeed try to blur them by acknowledging first and foremost that everybody is fine, just as they are. And then also that Amida embraces us just as we are. So we should all emulate that principle as far as we can and look deeply inside ourselves. So let's see, we will have now our closing gathas, which are Ondoku-san and Namo Amida Butsu, found on pages 134 and 135. Please stand if you are able. As we were singing the Nembutsu, I thought to myself, isn't it interesting? In Japanese, the word sometimes used quite affectionately for Amida is oyasama, meaning our beloved parent, which has no gender whatsoever. So it's a wonderful way to consider Amida, who accepts us just as we are. So at this point in our service, we like to ask that anyone who is here for the first time stand and introduce yourself, and so that we may have the opportunity to greet you and tell us how you came to be here today. Do we have anyone who's here for the first time? This gentleman.
Oh. Hello, everybody. Happy to be here. My name is Tim. I live in Long Island. I usually watch the live streams once in a while, and I happen to be here in the city, so I thought to drop by. And first time for everything, trying to get used to it in person, but it's wonderful to be here, wonderful service. Namo Amida Butsu, everyone.
Thank you for coming today, Tim.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lobsang Palmo, and I'm a Tibetan Buddhist. So I thought it would be interesting to just drop by and then see, because all the things that we read are is obviously similar, so it's in different language. So it's just nice to be here and be at peace.
Hello, my name is Akiko Konishi, and nice to meet you. And I live in Japan 3-4 months, and I live in New York maybe 7 months now. And when I'm in Japan, I go to a temple in Kyoto, and sometimes I listen Howa, and I like listen Okyo. And I didn't know they have a service here and do Okyo here. So first time I came here, I'm so impressed, and I'm very have a wonderful time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
I have
much
to go
for
to work,
joining
but
us.
thank you.
Anyone else? All righty. Well, we're so pleased that you could join us today. It's the joining of our voices together in Onen Butsu that makes this service meaningful for all of us. And we truly appreciate that you took your time today to join us here, and we hope to see you again. We like it when our newcomers become old-timers. And if you can only watch online, we also appreciate your online presence as well. The virtual Sangha is very important to us. And we've actually welcomed quite a few members, including Matthew, this year through our virtual services. So we are extremely grateful that we have them, and we have a really dedicated tech team who has taken nary a break for 3 years to ensure that the services are shared. And great appreciation to Dave Brady, who heads that up, and to Carl Parma and Lily and Kwang Ye and others who've assisted in the conveying of services to all of you. So let's see. Our next week is our actual Pride March, which will be led by Sodaiko. And anyone who is interested in joining the march after service, Reverend Gary will be here. You can speak to Reverend Gary as to what street to meet on and so forth. Or you may send us an email at nybc332@gmail.com. And one of us, if you live outside and want to know where to meet up and at what time, one of us will get back to you. So that will be the following week. The rest of our calendar can be accessed through our website, which is newyorkbuddhistchurch.org. And you can find our full calendar there, as well as other activities that may be upcoming on the calendar page. And on our community page, you can find our ongoing classes, Dharma chats, and so forth, and information on how to join those. So we will shortly have, are there any more announcements?
Yes, we do have one more. The American Buddhist Study Center is celebrating Pride Month with a Getting to Know You luncheon this coming Saturday, June 24th from 12 to 3 p.m. Hoshina Seke will be presenting. There will be a Dharma message from Reverend Elaine Donlin of the Buddhist Church of San Francisco. To register, go to www.ambuddhist.org and click Events. Thank you.
Elaine is an old friend and a wonderful speaker. So I encourage those of you who may be interested to register for that. It sounds like a wonderful event. Thank you so much, Hoshina, for arranging for that. Most of our classes are still at present online, but we welcome everyone to join, and the links will be sent out to you promptly, or you can be added to our mailing list. So I'd like to thank today the many people who, like fingers on one hand, all work together to make this service possible. I'd like to thank Maiko Tanaka, who set up the altar for me. I got, circumstances, I got stuck on both the train coming from New Jersey and the subway. So I'm very grateful to everyone who scrambled to make sure I had an easy transition from my rushing to getting here and finding everything beautiful and ready for all of you. So thank you, Maiko-san. And I also like to thank Ruth for being our greeter today, and to John Skelly for playing the piano. Thank you very much. And once again, to all of you who attended today. The service is ever more meaningful because of your presence. We truly appreciate it. And if you're interested in becoming a member, there's also a membership page, newyorkbuddhistchurch.org. And for those younger than 35, we have a special category for all of you to make it possible for you to join as well. We are a very welcoming Sangha, and we do appreciate your support very much. It enables us to continue sharing the Dharma and existing. It's building, unfortunately. Well, fortunately and unfortunately, it's a very venerable building with a very interesting history. But being a venerable building, it has creaks, and the joints get a little oily, so we have to grease them every now and then. So we do very much appreciate your support, membership, as well as your donations. Anyone who has not yet done Oshoko incense offering is welcome to do so after we close the service. And someone, myself or someone else, will be here to show you how, if you do not know how. So thank you very much again, and we look forward to you coming again to join us at New York Buddhist Church. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.